Hey there, my name is Becky Miller and I'm a certified yoga therapist. I come to you most weeks with a quick tip. Sometimes it's a mindset tip, sometimes it's more of a tip on how to do a certain pose or posture. Today I wanted to talk with you about signs of unresolved trauma. Trauma is something that I work with a lot in my practice. I see a lot of clients who have experienced trauma, whether it's recent or it could be from 30, 40 years ago, and they're still trying to resolve that trauma. So I do see a lot of it in my practice, and I just wanted to speak for a moment about some of the signs of unresolved trauma. Now, these signs that I'm going to mention individually, they may just be something that's going on in your life right now, but when you know that there's no current reason for these signs, or when you start to notice multiple of these signs showing up in your life, it may be a hint that there's some unresolved trauma in your past that really you might want to consider doing something about. So what are these signs that I'm speaking about? I'm going to just run through a list of 17 different things. It sounds like a lot. You might be experiencing one of them. You might be experiencing many of them. Just notice what's showing up in your life right now. And again, if there is trauma in your past and you're experiencing a lot of these signs, it might be a time for you to do something about it. So these signs that I'm talking about, the first one is intrusive thoughts. There's thoughts about the trauma maybe showing up in your life over and over again and getting in the way of other things. Nightmares, having poor sleep, having really bad dreams all the time, avoiding reminders of the event, memory loss. Memory loss surrounding the event might happen. Negative thoughts. Now, these might be related to the event, the traumatic event, but they also just might be negative in general. You might be more negative than you used to be. So notice if there's been a shift in that regard. Self-isolation. This happens a lot. You might not feel like you can interact with other people in the same way as you used to, so you self-isolate. Anger and irritability. So we all get angry at times. Things happen, life happens, and we get angry, we get irritable. But have you noticed the anger has increased, or that it's unreasonable? That might be something to look at. A reduced interest in your favorite activities. Now this is really big. Are there things that you used to do that you don't do anymore? You just aren't interested anymore. Some of your favorite activities, whatever they were, are you avoiding them? Hypervigilance. This can show up where you are always paying attention to the point of being overly vigilant in what's happening around you. Always looking out for something to happen. That can show up. We already talked about sleep, but insomnia might happen as well as nightmares, or it might just be you can't sleep, which is the insomnia. So notice any shifts in your sleep patterns. Difficulty concentrating. Again, things happen. Life happens. It can be hard to concentrate at times, but is there a pattern where you're noticing concentration is harder in general than it used to be? Flashbacks. Are you finding yourself thrown back into that traumatic event, whatever it was, and then it's getting in the way? Yeah, notice that. We already talked about avoidance, but it may be avoiding certain people, certain places, or certain things. Again, maybe related to whatever the traumatic event is. Are you blaming others more so than what would be considered normal? Something to think about. Talked about negative thoughts, but are you also having difficulty feeling positive emotions? So happiness, joy, are you having a hard time allowing those in your life? Do you have an exaggerated startle response? This happens a lot with a traumatic event. I know I've worked with people who, if you go up and I had one lady who, when I went up to her and spoke softly, she startled really. It was very noticeable. And she preferred if I just went up and touched her instead of speaking quietly to her, because that speaking quietly triggered her and sent her right back into a traumatic time in her life. So, do you have an exaggerated startle response? And are you doing more risky behavior than you might have? I know there are some people who are just daredevils, and that is just the way they've always been. Okay, but are you not normally a daredevil and you've started doing risky behaviors? If so, then that may be something to just be aware of. And again, any of these things that I've mentioned in an isolated event may not indicate anything at all, right? But when you have them layering one on top of another and you notice that there are a lot of things happening that didn't used to happen in my life right now. I've got insomnia, or I'm doing risky behaviors, or I'm avoiding people. And whatever these signs are, pay attention to them. And I urge you to get help, whether it's with a yoga therapist, whether it's with a talk therapist. There's art therapy, music therapy. There's so many different ways to work through trauma. Whatever you do, keep trying until you have resolved your trauma, because you don't have to let it run your life. You can resolve it and move forward again. So watch for these signs of unresolved trauma and reach out to someone for help if you feel like there is some trauma in your life that you need to resolve. So that's it for now. Just some signs to be aware of, maybe for yourself or for a loved one, a friend, family member, and encourage them to reach out if needed. And yeah, I'm here if you need me. Happy to answer questions. So that's it for now. Remember, it's never too late to live healthier and happier. It just takes one step forward at a time. See you next time. Bye for now.